Hello my friends, this is Bill from foamboardflyers.com. I was not doing a good job cutting bevels in foam board, so I made something I call a bevel cutting guide. Now I cut clean, straight bevels every time. If you'd like to cut clean, straight bevels every time, stick around. I'll show you not only how to make one, but how to use it too. I made the bevel cutting guide from wooden yardsticks that I bought from Ace Hardware. The wood is hard, clean, and straight, and at 99 cents, it's a good deal. Begin by cutting 4 sections the same length. They need to be about 4 inches longer than the part you plan to bevel. So if you have an elevator that is 14 inches long, the sections need to be about 18 inches long. And you need to cut 2 pieces of either foam board or 3/16 inch balsa for spacers. Glue the pairs together edge to edge. Then glue the spacers at both ends of one of the pairs. Glue the 2 pairs together. The next step is going to be to cut a bevel on a saw, but before you do that, put a piece of scrap foam board inside the slot to keep the sections parallel. If you don't do this, when you are cutting, the moving saw blade may push down on the top section and you'll end up with a bow in the cut. How do I know this? I did it! Cut a 45-degree angle along one edge of the guide. I used a table saw, but a bandsaw should work just as well. As I was making this video, it occurred to me that not everyone viewing would necessarily have such a tool. So I came up with another idea that will create a bevel cutting guide without any power tools. I'll include a sketch of it at the end of this video. This is what the finished bevel cutting guide looks like. Make sure to take sandpaper to make the bevel smooth. I made 2 different sized bevel cutting guides. One is larger for parts like wing panels, and the other is smaller for parts like rudders and elevators. The bevel cutting guide is ready to be used. Let's go ahead and cut some bevels. If you are building a kit, the first thing you need to do is to cut the part that needs the bevel away from whatever it's attached to. In this demonstration, I'll be cutting bevels on the rudder and elevator of a kit. If you are scratch building, you won't need to do this step. I'll start with the rudder. Insert it far enough into the guide so that you have a little bit sticking out the top, and so that these bottom edges line up. Down here, they just line up. And you'll have about 3/16 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch on the top over here. You can add some pressure holding it down here. Make sure it doesn't slide around. I'm using an inexpensive utility knife I got at a dollar store. 2 things to remember. Hold the blade at an angle. Don't hold it like this. Hold it like this when you're sliding. And then the other thing to remember is hold the blade against the top and the bottom at the same time. Let's give it a try. All right, let's take it out and take a look. If you're cutting a bevel on a small part, because this part is wide, what you might need is a helper. So you just take a little piece of foam board, stick it back there, push it on through, take a look at our bevel. Looks pretty good. Next we'll do the elevator. I flipped the elevator over. Now we're going to do the same thing we did with the rudder. Push it on in so that we have about 3/16 or 1/4. Looks like I need my helper here. Push it out just a bit. Let's give it a try. Again, pressing down, putting a little pressure here. Not like this, and then also hold your blade against both the top and the bottom yardstick. I'll push it out with the helper. And again, Looks like we have a pretty clean bevel. Next thing I'm going to do is hinge the rudder. I'll show you how I hinge rudders with paper tape. We're going to do the hinge next. I like to use this brown paper tape because it matches the flight test foam board so well. So the first step is going to be to cut a piece of tape that's a little bit larger than you need. Place it, this is the rudder and vertical stabilizer. I'm going to place it, and this, by the way, is 1-inch tape. It's 1 inch wide. Rub it down a little bit. Flip it over. Here's our bevel. And just lay it on in the right place. And press it down. Flip it over. Press it down. Then we're going to trim the excess off. And there we go. Looks pretty good. And this is what it looks like assembled. If you would like to have a bevel cutting guide like the one I made, but don't have power tools, here's an idea that I have. To get the 45-degree angle, I'll use balsa triangle stock. Then for the rest of the guide, I'll use foam board strips. The balsa is soft, so I'll probably apply some thin CA to it to make it more durable. Now that you have the idea of how the bevel cutting guide works, you could make one like this. Let me know if you do. You can contact me through my blog. Well, that's it for my bevel cutting guide video. I hope that it was helpful.